All right. Hi, everybody. It's our CFB Talk 88. My name is Bob Ekhayeri. I'm going to be joined by my co-hosts, JD Moore and Sirius, and we have a special guest for you. We have Coastal Carolina head coach, Jamey Chadwell. He's going to be joining us in a moment. So this is going to be an exciting talk. Many of you know Jamey Chadwell is the head coach of Coastal Carolina. You know, the Chants are doing great right now. They're 5-0. They've had two back-to-back 11-win seasons prior to that. Coastal Carolina is a leading candidate to win the Sun Belt right now. I mean, they are absolutely intriguing us year after year. They have an excellent quarterback with Grayson McCall. You know, prior to becoming the head coach of Coastal Carolina, I was fascinated by Chadwell because I remember when he led Charleston Southern, an FCS team, middle of the pack, not particularly exceptional, to its only two FCS playoff runs. So that was exceptional. And from there, Joe Moglia, the previous head coach who's still a part of the program at Coastal Carolina, got him to jump up and become his offensive coordinator as, I can see actually he's here. So let's go ahead and invite him up. Coach Chadwell, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Coach. Obviously, you are doing a fantastic job once again with Coastal Carolina, one of the remaining undefeated G5 schools. And after a huge win, this past week, getting a win over Georgia Southern, we absolutely had to hear some of the great things that are happening right now in Myrtle Beach. You're 5-0. How are the vibes happening right now with the Coastal Carolina football program?
Well, it's been an interesting 5-0. I'll say it's not been easy. The last couple of years, some of those have been easy. This year has been not, but we got a confident team that believes in themselves. We're finding ways each week to, let's say, make the game interesting, I guess. But we've got guys that understand how to win and that expectation, and it's driving us right now.
You know, I'm sure most of America saw the Myrtle Hurdle by C.J. Beasley. That was just an incredible highlight. What was it like for you to see him leap that defender?
Well, I'll say this. That is actually his move. He's probably used that move in games about 3 or 4 times. Not to that extent, not that high, and not at the moment of how impactful it was for the game. But I was really right behind it watching it because I think we were on the 20-something yard line, and so I moved backwards just to sort of see what was happening, and you could just see it coming. And I could say he's getting ready to jump this guy, and all these things go through my mind. Please hold on to the football. And then obviously he hurdled that sucker and got in the end zone and gave us a victory out of it.
Coach, one of the things that I've loved watching with Coastal Carolina under your watch has been your modified version of a modern option offense. I mean, I'm still hollering, thinking about that Grayson McCall toss to Jared Brown in that first quarter against Georgia State. But I would love to hear a little bit more directly from you. I mean, your option offense is not the typical offense we see. There's a lot of work out of the shotgun. There's a lot of motion that happens before that. What is it about your offense that works so differently with your wrinkles to that option offense?
Well, I think one, it is, in principle, it is an option type run game at least. And so everything that we do is based off of that. But we didn't want to be underneath center and we wanted to be able to throw the ball and recruit, some playmakers and do some different things. And so there's a lot of window dressing. There's a lot of bells and whistles. But at the core, we're trying to read somebody and we're trying to pitch off somebody. We want to give our offensive linemen advantages with angles and leverage and try to make defenses hopefully try to defend us instead of us trying to figure out what they're doing. We've been doing this now from an offensive standpoint since 2009 is when we really first started using it. And each year we've tried to add something, whether that's RPOs or something that we think can continue to make it grow. But our guys believe in what we're doing, and it gives us a chance. And when you're bought into what you're doing and your players believe in it, good things can happen. Obviously, we got a trigger man that can make it go as well. And that sort of took us from where people thought it was a novelty. Now that everybody loves it. So it's amazing. It's amazing how when you have success with it, how the mindset of how you use it changes.
Coach, speaking about that trigger man, we have to bring up Grayson McCall. Just a very, very passionate player who has at this point kind of become synonymous with Coastal and the type of football that you're playing, the brand of football that you want to run. He's been expected to come up, and he had a fantastic season last year, expand on that, but also to become more of a veteran leader for your program after losing a lot of talent last year. Can you speak to how he's done this year in terms of stepping up and being that vocal leader at the forefront of the team?
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest challenge. When he came in 20, he took the nation by storm. We had a lot of older guys, and he was out there just playing ball and fit perfectly, obviously, here, and his mullet and everything fit perfectly here in Conway. And, and then last year he followed it up and had another fantastic year with another group that was older, a lot of super seniors. And then this year, coming off of surgery, shoulder surgery, brand new receivers, mostly brand new offensive line, a lot of young players around him. And he still has to live up to that expectations that he's created for himself, but also try to lead a new team, and that's been challenging for him. And I think if you've watched us this season, we've had some ups and downs, some struggles, trying to find our way. Offensively, just new guys and new places, and battling through some injuries. But he's been the one constant for us. It's like the old. I used to watch the television show Lost, and they talk about what's your constant, and he's been our constant. But his leadership of using these young players and allowing them to sort of grow through their mistakes, and him trusting them and trusting the offensive line, I think you've seen over the last 2 weeks, he's played his best games from obviously from a yardage and all that standpoint, but really from a leadership, getting them locked in, keeping them encouraged. And I think that's why, the last 2 games in this league, he's played his best, because he knows his best is needed when we're playing these tough Sun Belt conferences.
There was a moment towards the end of the Georgia State game where McCall, he'd been a little banged up earlier in the game. He appeared to want to get back on the field. And from what we saw at home, it appeared you were talking him out of it. I mean, you were a quarterback yourself. What was that conversation like?
Well, it was, any competitor wants to go back in. He wanted to finish. He wants to show people, hey, he can finish things. But and he might be a politician one day. He was pretty smooth at trying to convince me. But also, from a head coaching standpoint, I trusted that we could find a way to still win the game without him. And then, too, that it's a long season, and, he's got a future that's more important than just that one moment or that game. Those games are vastly important to us and our supporters, but our players, their future and what they're trying to accomplish, comes first as well. And so you had to think about all those things. And he wanted to go in there and finish the game, but also we knew that we need to try to keep him away from getting injured any further and make sure that he could come back and be healthy, which he did. And but he's the ultimate competitor. That's what makes him special. He wants to go out there and he thinks he can make every play.
Coach, when you think about the development of your players, one thing that really fascinates me about your team is the defensive production that came back for this year for Coastal. It was actually one of the lowest returning defensive production because so many guys had graduated and moved on beyond college football. I would love to hear a little bit more about what Chad Staggs and some of your coaching staff have really done to really develop players at Coastal Carolina, particularly on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, well, we try to take a lot of, I'll use the word pride, I guess, that we have to develop. We know we got to get players and develop them. We're not getting the ready-made guys, and those things. And so from a standpoint of our off-season program, our strength coaches, and everything that we're doing to try to help these players be their best, that's important to us. And we spend a lot of time with that. And defensively, we knew we lost a lot of great players, great leaders, but we also felt confident about some of the recruiting and some of the young guys that we'd had, that when their opportunity came, that they would make the most of it. Now, we've had some ups and downs, no doubt, throughout the 5 games, but I think what you're seeing is we have a lot of depth. We play a lot of players. There's a lot of new guys playing, but our guys, our coaches, especially Coach Staggs, Coach McGee, Coach Foster, Coach Miller, Coach Fearball, that's our staff there. They do a fantastic job of not only teaching the game and teaching what we have to do from a scheme standpoint, but helping those guys realize their strengths. We try to play to our strengths, not necessarily weaknesses. Everybody's got a weakness. We know that, but we try not to focus on that. We try to focus on what our players can do, and if we can put them in position to be successful. And that's, to me, is part of understanding and development, is making them the best that they can be in what they're good at, and then don't put them in situations where they might not be as good. And I think our defensive staff does a good job of that.
Obviously, finding the right fit is crucial for a program like Coastal when you're having to develop those players. And then also trying to find guys who want to stay there and want to build something and develop into something more. At the same time, you've built this reputation as being kind of one of the more fun teams in the Fun Belt. We had Commissioner Keith Gill on here last month, and we talked about how much fans across the country enjoyed the Sun Belt because of this reputation that its teams have, this mindset of, we're going to play top tier college football, we're going to be entertaining, we're going to put out a good product, but we're also going to have fun doing it. How do you sell that type of program to a recruit that's considering your school and finding the right guy who wants to come and spend his entire career in Conway?
Well, I think one, you got to have a value system that you recruit to. Fit is important. I think for everybody, obviously for us it is, and we believe in doing things a certain way here within the process of our program. And the two main things we do there is we talk a lot about being a man and what a man does, and then we also have four values that are important, and those values of competition, discipline, accountability, and passion. That's our values of our program. And so everything that we do, we live that as coaches, but we recruit to that. And we build on that each and every year in our program, and we want players that want to buy into that. Obviously, there's some great things here in Conway, South Carolina, being right close. Our school's awesome, and so there's a lot of good things to sell. But our main point for us is we're going to do things the right way. We're going to play hard. We're going to live those values out, but we're going to enjoy what we do. Football is hard. And there's so much pressure on young people now from a mental health standpoint because of expectations of themselves outside. We want to make sure the experience young people have in our program, hopefully they're winning a lot of football games and championships. They're getting a fantastic degree. We believe all those things, but we want them to enjoy it. I want them to look back and say, you know what, that was the 4 or 5, some guys now 6 or 7 with COVID, of the best years of my life. And that because I was with a brotherhood. We work hard on creating a real brotherhood, a real family, and everybody talks that, but we spent a lot of time on that, being a brotherhood. And that's important to us, that we get guys that want to be a part of that. And I think that's why you've seen us have success. We've not had the best players or the best recruiting class, but we've had players buy into that and want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And when you get people to do that and compete for a common purpose, special things can happen. And we have a special place here in Conway.
Absolutely love hearing that vision for how to not only just build players, but build men as well. And I just got to say, especially thinking about the way that you've also been able to do that while still branding yourself as one of the fun places in college football to play at. I immediately think back to some of your legendary post-game locker room celebrations, like, the pizza eating contest against Joey Chestnut or the fake bullfights, throwing mascots through tables. I have to know, though, who comes up with those celebration ideas, and more importantly, who handles the logistics of making those happen?
Well, that actually happened. Let's see, 2015 is when we actually started doing this. We were at a previous place, most of my staff, but we started doing that in 2015. And every year before the season starts, I assign one of our assistant coaches one of the teams that we're playing, and we determine, hey, we're playing for a championship that week, and then whatever that championship we're playing for. You saw Joey Chestnut. We were playing Texas State. That was to devour the Bobcats. That was the theme, and whoever won had an opportunity to compete against Joey Chestnut. And so the coaches come up with that, and then they get with our strength staff and they figure out logistics in the locker room and the different things that we've done. And we've done some crazy stuff. We've had a live animal before. We've had a bunch of different things. Probably I can't mention on here, but that's part of our players enjoying the process. They look forward to every Monday when we reveal what we're playing for and why we're playing for it. And then they know there's going to be an unbelievable celebration afterwards in that locker room, and that some have gotten on social media, some we've had to probably keep in there, but they look forward to that, and that's part of who we are and the fun that we have.
Coach, you have an excellent relationship with Joe Moglia, your predecessor, who initially hired you to come into the program as offensive coordinator. Of all his insights, what has struck out with you as you continue your coaching career?
Well, I think the main thing is that what he helped me continue to realize is, one, be yourself. Don't try to be Joe Moglia, or don't try to be some of these coaches that you see that do it this way, have success. You got to be yourself and believe in what you do and how you do it. But the other thing that I think you really is helped me on is just understanding and being able to see the game from not a typical coach standpoint, seeing it from how he saw it. He was a CEO, successful CEO, and the way he was able to see the game from some different ways that maybe I wasn't. And trusting that, trusting that instinct, trusting that gut of following through on that, and it's really helped me. And I think been a big part of the success that we've had here is because of the foundation, part one that he left us, but also some of the things that he was able to help us see and implement while he was here that I've tried to follow has been a big reason for that. And he's been a tremendous mentor for me.
How is he fitting into the program? Because he has I know he's been conscious of wanting to give you obviously all the space to run the program your way, but he has that unique role of chair of athletics and executive director for football. Is that sort of shifting more to what made him a successful business executive?
Yeah, I mean he managed a multi-billion-dollar fund. He can definitely he can do football and be the chair of executive director, of football and all those different things. He's really good at understanding people and communicating his vision. I think that's to me is his greatest asset is he's a great communicator and he sees what needs to be fixed or improved and he knows how to get done with it and so he's tremendous at those things and it's been good for me obviously to have him still here and be able to have an ear that can listen through some challenging times and things that we struggle with that he can help guide me.
I was actually at the 2017 Sun Belt Media Day when you needed to step up, I think, quite early as interim for that interim season. And in fact, I remember asking you about the BAM that was on the back of your clothing, which you've already touched on. You've been a head coach before at more than one level. And what are some of the things, though, you've learned about head coaching since that 2017 season?
Well, that was a challenging season, no doubt, and obviously getting thrust into that. And what I tell people, it's not necessarily I've been a head coach before, so I wasn't so I'm shocked I'm in the head coaching chair. What I do, but I think what I realized through that now is it's about the people that you're leading and making sure that you know them, they know you, and that we're all believing the same vision and going in the same way. And I think that's really helped me going through that season, being thrust into a head coaching spot that I wouldn't say I wasn't ready for as far as being a head coach for, but I wasn't ready for that certain situation because of not knowing the players the way I needed to, not knowing how to direct them and try to motivate them to be their best. And so what I learned is it doesn't matter the X's and O's and all those things. It's can I take a group of young people and get them to believe in something bigger than themselves? And going through that challenge of 17 and learning that and seeing the ways I might needed to change from being how I was previously has really helped to this point of my career.
Jamey, beyond Joe in that administrative role, you certainly have done a lot to make sure that Coastal Carolina is successful, but it takes a small army to make sure that you can have a regular undefeated season, to have multiple 11-win seasons, and especially when you have a program that's so new to FBS football. What has been the administration support that you've received from Coastal Carolina in order to succeed on the football field?
Well, they've been tremendous. They obviously made the move back in 2016 with a belief that we had a lot of success at the FCS level, and I think they believe that, hey, we can have the similar success at the FBS. And they've been tremendous. Dr. DeCenzo was our president when we made that move. Now we got President Michael Benson, who came in and started January of, I think, 20. Has been a tremendous asset. He loves athletics. He's been a tremendous supporter of us. He's at our games, and they want us to be successful. We've gotten approval to break ground on a new indoor facility. They've increased facilities, for us each and every year. There's things that we've needed to try to improve, and they're there for us and supporting us. Our athletic director Matt Hogue has been tremendous, and they see the value of what our program's been able to do for our university, and they're behind us. And we've got tremendous support throughout the university. We've got tremendous teams throughout this university. We've got a lot of successful championship-winning coaches. Obviously, you just talk about baseball and basketball, and our baseball team won the national championship a few years ago. So we've had a lot of success, a lot of expectations here, but our administration gives us the support we need to go out and stay consistent, which is all you can ask.
Coach, as we wrap up, we've got a lot of followers and listeners from across the country, and they may find themselves in a unique situation this year if they wake up in the morning after watching a Chance game the night before and they find themselves pissing teal. Do you and the doctors in Conway have any suggestions for what they should do in that situation?
Take 2 tablets of aspirin and call your doctor in the morning. And that's usually what we tell our guys, and it works like a charm every time.
Oh, that's great. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. We know you've got a busy week, got to prepare for the games and all that stuff. Thank you so much for joining us.
We appreciate y'all very much. Sean's up.
Absolutely. Sean's up. From all of us here at RCFB, thanks for listening. This was RCFB Talk 88 with Coastal Carolina head coach Jamey Chadwell. We always appreciate it. On behalf of myself, Bob Ekayeri, on behalf of my co-hosts, JD Moore and Sirius, we hope you have a great rest of your day. Now, I'm going to hang up and listen.